Hey there, everybody. Welcome. Welcome back if you've been here before. Thanks for clicking on the video. If you're new, I hope you consider subscribing and hitting the thumbs up. And for sure, let me know what you guys think of this in the comments. I hope everyone's doing well today. I'm doing pretty good. The kiddos go back to school tomorrow, so I've been running around doing the last minute things today. I'm excited to get a little more free time in my life, so that's good. Today I wanted to talk about 90 Day Fiance UK, Season 2, Episode 2, Is She a Tinder Swindler? I've recorded this at least 3 times and I cannot say it right, so we're going with it. Is she a Tinder swindler? It was pretty good. I was surprised that there was still only like the original first 3 couples from episode 1, but that's cool. I like, getting to know them. They're pretty interesting. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Louise and Jose. We see her, she's packing up, and her son walks in. He's completely unimpressed, and he's like, "Oh, so you're really doing this then?" She tells us that tomorrow she's flying to Colombia to marry a man that she's never met. And, a lot of people are skeptical, but her son is definitely the most concerned. He tells her that, he doesn't like that she's going alone to meet a random person. She's telling him, she's going, she has no choice. I mean, come on, lady, you always have a choice. But she understands that her son thinks it's a big risk, but it's one that she has to take. If she doesn't, she will never meet Jose, right? He asks her if she's worried about anything. And then she tells us that she got a message the other day from someone telling her that he uses his music videos to sleep with prostitutes. So she decides to tell her son Jesse about this for some reason. And his face just says it all, right? He's like, "You still want to go over there, see someone like that?" And she says, she talked to Jose about it a little, and he says that he hasn't done that. She tells us that she doesn't know if she can trust him, but, she has to go over there and see him face to face and look him in the eyes to know if he's telling the truth. Her son says, this is just another thing that makes him think like, WTF, mom. He tells her he feels like she's rushing and going in blindly and completely disregarding any risk. And he doesn't want his mom around someone who could be like that. She's like, if she doesn't go, she'll never know if Jose's who he says he is. So again, she has to do this, apparently. And he just wants her to promise that she's going to be safe. She tells him she'll be safe and that she's not going to be gone for long. Over in Colombia, we catch up with Jose singing that god-awful song on a bus. And he says he's nervous to meet her and he hopes that she likes him. He's at the airport, he's waiting, he's nervous. She's landing, she's telling us how she's risking a lot going to a country she's never been to by herself to marry a man she never met. So, at least she's self-aware, I guess. So then we get the airport moment time, right? She hesitantly walks out to greet him, and he puts his arms out for a big old hug, singing "I Love You, Chicken." They kiss a bunch. She says that when she saw him, she couldn't feel her legs. And that is for sure true, because she was wobbly walking out there. Like, I felt like she couldn't walk. So he's happy. He's excited that she's real. She says, even when people doubt your relationship and where it's going, then you finally get to hold that person. It's just the best feeling in the world. They're getting in all the smooches and the I love yous in right now. And she says meeting him, she knows that everything she felt was true. He's beautiful and she really loves him. She says that, he typically lives with his grandma, but he booked them an Airbnb for when she's there. So I was wondering, because she told her son they were going to stay with his friend, maybe she took that into account and told him, we should just get a Airbnb. Maybe. What do you guys think? I don't know if they ever talk about it. They didn't this time. So she gets there, and there are flower petals all the way to the bed and like a big old heart and flowers. And she thought that it was really sweet. But that bed is tiny. And all she could think was she had to clean up all the flowers, and there's pollen all over the bed. I'm like, she's such a mom, because I would have thought the same thing. She says that she's having a great time with him, but she needs to talk to him about the message she got and if that's true. He's checking out the room. There's a hammock on the balcony, so he's trying that out. He just seems like a really fun, full of energy type of guy, but also like immature, I would say. She does say that now isn't the right time to bring up the messages because, this is their first night. So I'm thinking she just wants to get it in a little before she finds out the truth or something. So next time we see them, she's trying to ask him what he's doing. And he says, very good, with the old thumbs up, And she reminds us they don't speak each other's language. Then he thinks she's asking where he is, so he says, I'm in the apartment. And she says he gets confused, and he just answers, it's good, a lot. Then he tells her he's going to show her his city today. She looks like she's melting. Like, this place looks hot. She's sitting right in front of the fan. And, he's over there. He's trying to make her coffee. He has no idea what to do. He's never made coffee. So I'm thinking, like, why don't you just get up and show him? Like, at least the first time. If he really wants to make you coffee from now on, that's cool. But get up off your ass and show him. It's not so hard. So she's, making fun of him a little for wanting to put the coffee grounds into, like, the bottom chamber. And, for people who don't drink coffee or make coffee, they're not going to know where everything goes. It's not, like, common sense, right? So she finally gets up to show him because, she didn't want to drink the hot coffee ground soup he was going to prepare. And he's just standing there watching it. He keeps trying to, like, stop it while it's brewing. So she gets up again to stop him from burning himself. And after all of that, he gets a cup. And you know what? He likes it. It's good. And it's not too hot. She tells us that she's having a great time with him. But she still has doubts about him hooking up with the lady workers during his video shoots, right? And she doesn't want to ruin the time together, but it's something she needs to know. So they venture out. They go to a place to eat. And, now's the right time for her to talk about it. She tells him that she wants to ask him something. And, now they're getting married and it's real. And she asks him when he made his video, did he do anything inappropriate or sexual with the ladies? Someone says there were prostitutes there. So she tells him, if you've been with someone else, I'm not going to marry you. I'll go back to London. So, like, I'm sure he's definitely going to tell you the truth hearing that. Like, if it was anyone else, they would just lie because they don't want you to leave. So I would just ask and then tell him the consequences afterwards. But I'm going to have to wait till next time to find out about that. I know that you guys know how it goes, but I'm interested. They didn't have a whole lot going on this episode. Like, she just looked like she was hot and melting and miserable. And it was funny trying to watch them communicate with each other. That kind of thing. So I'm sure we're going to be seeing lots more of them soon. Next up, I want to talk about Shane and Mert. So far, this is the couple I enjoy the most, but I think it's mostly because I like Shane. She's pretty cool. So, she's on her way to the airport to spend 6 weeks in Turkey. She's excited for them to get to know each other this way because you never know, they might not like each other after 6 weeks. But it has been 9 weeks, she says, since they've seen each other, and it just feels like forever. Then we get a little time jump. It's 24 hours earlier, and her mom are getting pedicures. She tells us that she's nervous going back because no one knows they're LGBT, or that Shane was born a boy. Her mom is telling her, she knows that her identity isn't accepted over there. So she's nervous that her baby could be in danger. She says, people who are LGBT are still discriminated against and even killed in Turkey for being who they are. And Shane's biggest worry is, their safety. She's not sure if people found out if they would be hurt or beaten up or something. She says, if something happens to her in England, she can call the police, speak the language, and get help because they have rights. So she's worried that she might not make it back safely, and she's second-guessing going a little. She says that it's not illegal there to be gay or LGBT, but they just have to stay kind of hidden. Mert says that as long as they aren't flaunting it in the street, that they're going to be fine. And, she thinks she passes well for a girl. And if she doesn't talk a lot, she's just going to look like a tall, well-built girl. Which, she does. She trusts him that things will be, fun. And she loves him and will do anything for him. And she trusts that he'll keep her safe. And Mama's like, you're risking your life for him. And I'm just asking, does anyone know if it's really that dangerous in Turkey for LGBT people? Or is this, hyped up for the show, the danger factor? Sometimes it's hard for me to remember that places are still like that or imagine it. Because I never lived in a place that was you can't do this or you'll be killed in the street or something, So her and her mom are going to pray that it goes well. And, have faith in Mert that she'll be safe like he says. Mom says her biggest worry, with her going over there is people finding out that she isn't a biological girl and getting hurt. After that, we skip over to Mert. He's brushing his teeth. He's getting ready because Shane is arriving today. He put a big S in rose petals on the bed to surprise her. Now, this is the second flowers on the bed in one episode, and I can tell you that's never happened to me. I never got the flower petals on the bed treatment, so I was surprised to see it twice. Anyway, Shane arrives at the airport. She thinks she looks bad. She's nervous because everyone's staring at her and giving her the evil eye. She says that when people stare in public, she wonders what their problem is, or do you want to take a picture? That's what she's trying to say to them. Why are they staring at her? But she thinks it's just a cultural thing and she isn't used to it. She says, in England, it's rude to glare at people. Mert is over there waiting for her. He's expecting to hear her yell ah! With joy when she sees him. They see each other. They run into each other's arms. He picks her up, and he is strong for a little guy. Maybe he's not that little, but in comparison, he was strong. They kissed each other. They missed each other. She's jealous that he's more tan than her. She tells him that she was nervous he was going to drop her, but he didn't. And he tells her, she's his chunky baby and he likes her chunky. And she's like, what? I can't believe you said that. So they're really cute together. They're leaving the airport. It's adorable. She says that her anxiety doubles and triples going to Turkey. But as long as he's by her side, then she's okay. They definitely make out in the car. And while we are enjoying that, Shane tells us, she's excited to spend 6 weeks with him and get to know him properly and see if he's the guy she's going to spend the rest of her life with. He says, they're going to the hotel. He can't wait to see her reaction to the surprise. She says that she loves surprises, and he does that for her all the time. And he's like, yeah, because I'm a gentleman. So they get to the hotel. She loves it. It's beautiful. She loves the heart. And then they sit down and they have some snackies and drinks. And they cheers so they don't get 7 years bad sex. And I'm like, well, maybe that's what happened to me. I drank a lot earlier in my life, and I never did this cheers. Maybe that's why. Anyway, too much information about me. She says it's not possible for them to have 7 years bad sex, so they're good. They jump into the bed full of petals together, and, that's that. We see them again, and they're showing like little clips that they must have filmed themselves, it looks like, of them kissing and swimming and trying to buy necklaces, but they're like child size. And they got ice cream, and they fed stray cats some of their lunch, and Mert's climbing trees to pick some sort of berries, and apparently he likes to climb trees for fruit, but Shane thinks, some of the fruit's good, some of it's bad. They see a big bug. He gets her a rose. And she tells us, it's really nice that he takes the lead because it's his country and his culture, and he knows what to say and where to go. And she trusts him with everything. He makes her feel safe and comforted. So then they go out to eat. He has put a lot of effort into this night and, making it beautiful. But she's saying, they need to talk and hash out some issues. She's like, if we get married, is it possible for us to get married in Turkey? He says they can and then legally get married again in England, I think. And she tells us, they can't get married in Turkey because they don't have LGBT rights, especially not the same ones they have in the UK. And she says she's asking these questions because England and Turkey are very different. And, where she's from, they don't have this problem. You can be who you want, marry who you want. It's great. And she wants them to live a happy life, not worried about who knows who they are and who's watching. She tells him, people stare at them. And he says when that happens, he's going to say, "Why are you staring at my partner?" or something. She tells him, she just wants them to be happy and have a happy life, no matter where it is. But she's still worried about his parents and their reaction when they find out that she was born a natural boy. She says, they like her so much and she likes them. And she's worried, will they still love her when they find out her gender identity? He tells us, one day if his family finds out that she's naturally a man, they might have a problem. But it shouldn't be a problem because it's his life and he can do what he wants. But she doesn't want to be the reason that he doesn't speak to his parents. Or, they don't speak to him. She says, it's his parents and his decision. And Shane's not going to tell him that they have to tell the parents now because it's not her decision. And I think that is great. That is a great way to look at it because most people are the opposites on this show. They're so pressured. Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your social media, tell everybody. Or they're trying to push I'm this way, so they have to know right now. And she's waiting for him to be comfortable. And I think that's great. So for now, she's just going to put everything aside and enjoy having fun with her man. They start a weird sexual back and forth in a different language. No one translated that. And you know what? I'm okay with it. They can have that. So they get dessert. He has a surprise for her. And she's thinking oh my gosh, what if he's going to propose? And then it's a necklace that he had made for them, and it says Shane and Mert, and it has an infinity symbol in the middle, so it's like forever. She loves it. You know, it's obviously not a ring, but it's just as special, and it had their names engraved on it, and I thought it was cute. She's a little disappointed that it's not a ring, but you know, if it's not today, maybe another day. And they're so happy, they're smooching it up, and she's so pleased that they had the good conversations they needed. They had a wonderful date night. It went beautifully. I like them. I hope they can work out these issues. I'm sure it gets crazy at some point because nothing's ever this great on these shows. All right, so last up, we're going to talk about Michael and Mercy. We meet up again with him and his friend at the bar. He says, you know, it's for sure her on this post. There was a post about this girl swindling people for money. But, you know, they changed her name to Mercy Cometa. He, you know, in the post it says she was swindling different men online. And Nick, his friend, said, you know, a quick Google search and he found this. Meaning, like, you didn't even Google her, bro? Tinder Swindler, he calls her. You know, I never watched that on Netflix. If you've seen it, would you let me know if it's good, worth the watch? I like forensic types of shows all the time. Anyway, Tinder Swindler. Now, Michael is wondering if she's trying to scam him and get his money. The friend's like, well, has she asked you for money and anything? And he's like, well, I'm paying for the wedding and the dress and the tickets and everything else. And, you know, they're getting married in a couple weeks. He says he doesn't know what to think, but he knows that Nick has his best interests at heart. He tells his friend, you know, there's not going to be a wedding if this is true. Nick tells us that everyone had doubts about them from the beginning, and he felt that his friend needed to know this before he gets married. So now Michael's going to ask her about it and see how she reacts, if she gets defensive or what. If it's true, it's over because he can't trust her. Now, I think any person would get defensive if someone said this to them. So, I mean, that's not a big gauge of her guilt, right? Anyway, he calls her up on video chat. The first thing she says is like, why are you so serious? And he tells her it's because she's got some splaining to do. He tells her to look at what he sent her. And he says he got sent the post. She's like, by who? He says it doesn't matter who. Like, what's going on? She tells him it's crazy. You know, someone's probably using her pictures. But that's not her name. And he's like, well, how do I know that? No. How do I know that, though? And she's like, you don't trust me? Well, you know, it's not every day that your person has a post out there like this about them. So I could see why he's a little worried. Then he tells her, you know, you're 7,000 miles away. How do I know what the F your name is? And like, my mouth dropped open when he said that. I was like, oh, okay. She asked him if he's insane. She asked him, like, how long have we been dating? And he's like, you could be playing the long game. And she's telling him, like, if you don't trust me, you need to tell me now. He tells her, like, how is he supposed to know what her real name is? And asks to see her passport to prove it. She tells him, no, she's not proving nothing. And if he doesn't like that, he can F off, right? And she says it's not her in the post or it's not her the post is talking about, and he knows that. She tells him she doesn't swindle people. He tells us that he doesn't know what to think. Like, he's seeing one thing, she's saying another. He's like, you know, if it's not true, then why is it up there? And where would they get the pictures from? I'm like, well, you know, people steal pictures all the time. And she said she messaged millions of people, casting out her net of people to talk to. So I'm sure her pictures are out there. She says that isn't her, that's a blogger. How many times does she have to tell him? Maybe someone's trying to use her name. He says that he gets that, but it's hard being so far from her. She knows that, but, he doesn't need to trust everything he sees. And he just tells her it took him by surprise. And, she says if it was her, she would have swindled him a long time ago and been done with him in 2 weeks. But she says it, when she says it, she's giving me like Eartha Kitt as Yzma vibes. Pull the lever. I can't do the accent. Anyway, he says, he would have known she was a scammer if she asked for money right away. She says, well, anyways, it's not me. Then she asks if he wants to see her ID, but I think she meant it like, how dare you ask to see my ID? And he's like, yeah, that would be helpful to see it. And she's like, hell no. You need to apologize to me for, going mental on her. He says, he was a bit gung-ho, but she would have been the same. Basically, that's it. They're over it. They hang up. Next, he's meeting up with his friend James. First thing he says to us is, things are back on track for him and Mercy, so he can move on with the plans. James, he's like, how's the wedding plans going? And he says it's pretty much all booked. It's good. The main part now is getting the dowry sorted. I cannot say my words today. Anyway, I remembered, oh yeah, she's in Africa. Because I remember someone else on 90 Day going to Africa. And he bought like 3 months supplies of groceries or something. But he bought the wrong stuff. And that was supposed to be like if there's a funeral. I don't remember the couple. But he did have to pay a dowry. Anyway, Michael says it's to show appreciation for Mercy's parents. But to him, it sounds like he's buying her, and that's not what he's doing. And I think the other guy who married an African woman said it's to thank them for raising her and her education and speaking English. So it is an appreciation thing. But her dowry is 15 cows, 48 goats, 3 bags of maize, 4 bags of beans, 50 kilos of sugar, some duvets, some blankets, and a mattress. But altogether, it's about $5,000. He tells his friend tells him that as long as he knows what he's agreeing to and isn't getting scammed, and he says that, she doesn't want all their money to go to her parents because she's going to want to do things when she gets to England. He says he got the food delivery job because he has to pay for the wedding, the dowry, the visa, everything. He's worked 18 hours a day and he just hopes that's enough. James tells him to make sure they aren't making him pay a ridiculous amount when they would charge a Kenyan man like 500 quid. All I could think here was Usman and baby girl Lisa trying to buy a goat. And he's like, I wouldn't let them charge you the price of white. He tells his friend that he's not 100% sure, but he's looking up things. It just varies a lot between tribes. And he looks like he knows that's a ridiculous amount. But he doesn't regret wanting to marry her, but James is very vocal about his concerns. He doesn't want him getting taken advantage of. So that being said, he decides to show James the post that Nick showed him. And he tells him they talked and they think someone just stole their pictures because it's a really old picture. And his friend says, so someone stole it and made it a profile. And for some reason, he thinks it's like a sad blogger. Like, when are bloggers out here just hating on random people? But he says, they talked about it. She says it's not her. He believes her. The friend's like, yeah, are you sure? And he said they hashed it out. She said it's not her. And he's like, well, would a swindler say, yeah, it's me? I just always love the friends because they're so like honest. He tells us there is money involved. He has to also pay a dowry. What if they want more? He doesn't think that Mike is daft, but again, when you love someone, you can have rose-colored glasses on. This man is a fortune teller. He says, make sure you're 100% before getting married. And Michael's gonna stay sharp, hopefully. Next thing we know, he's going wedding ring shopping, but he's a baller on a budget. So he hopes to find a good deal, but he knows that Mercy has expensive tastes. The lady asks him what his budget is, and he says between $200 and $300. He tells her the wedding is costing a lot. The first ring she shows him were in his price range, but he knows they weren't fancy enough. So she goes back to get the rings with real diamonds, and he's starting to panic. This is going to cost him. The one she shows him is really nice, and he's like, yeah, that'll go in the maybe pile. She's like, this is the only ring like this in the whole company, so if it sells, it sells. Liar! She's lying. He says that she's a really good salesperson. And she's like, yeah, buy it before someone else does. It costs him 400 quid, way over his budget, but she's worth it. That wasn't like too high over his budget, I don't think. It seems like it was like 100 more, but I don't really know the currency in England, honestly. Anyway, we see him again. We got a lot of Michael moments this episode. So we see him again. He's doing last minute packing before his trip tomorrow. He's excited. He's packing for his wedding. And he doesn't know what to expect at the wedding, just like what he's seen on YouTube. He has 2 suitcases of stuff for her. And he's been sending her money. And, he even got her some shoes. He says this is the woman of his dreams. And they're going to have amazing time together. And build a family. Then he calls her. And this is when I say his friend is a fortune teller. Because his friend was like, what if they ask for more money for the dowry? She says that she forgot some stuff from the dowry that he was supposed to buy. She forgot half of the stuff. It was written on like the other side of a paper or something. And she didn't notice till yesterday. And she was like, oops, no big deal. She tells him he still needs 90 to 100,000, and apparently that's like 750 quid. He can't believe this because he thought everything was paid for. He asks her where they're going to get all this money from because she's saying that it's necessary. And she's like, yeah, we'll figure something out. Maybe you can work tonight. And he's like, make 750 quid tonight. He starts telling her all he has to pay for. And she's like, yeah, we'll take it from savings. He's like, what savings? All of his money went into this wedding. She tells him, everyone has to pay a dowry. And he's like, yeah, but they're all different. He feels like they're taking advantage of him because, he's flying out tomorrow and now she needs all this money. So she tells him, so what are we going to do now? We have to show off all the stuff. And he says, he doesn't know. And she tells him goodbye and they hang up. And he doesn't know what he's going to do. Because if he can't find the money, he can't marry her. So maybe he's going to call up Nick, or better yet, James, the one he had this conversation with a minute ago, and ask them for the money. I don't know. I think that's ridiculous. She talked about it like, oh, not a big deal. I forgot to do the dishes. Oh, I didn't pick up the mail today. Oops. That's a lot of money. I'm guessing. I don't know how much that is in American, but it's probably a lot. So that was this episode. Episode 2. I made it. Let me know if you guys are enjoying this. I know I'm very slow on this 90 Day UK season. Hopefully I'll be getting them out more rapidly now that the kiddos are back in school. So if you think I should still keep doing this, let me know. If you're not really feeling it, let me know that too. I can take it. I hope you guys have a good day. And don't forget to take deep breaths and, be nice to a stranger. Things like that. Little things make people's day better. So, thanks again, everybody. Bye.